Hello, everyone. Croeso. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I've been practicing it actually. That's my attempt at speaking in Welsh. But anyways, it's Sunday once again. It's my favorite day of the week, honestly, because I do love talking to drummers. And it's now gone 2 o'clock here in the UK, which means it's 10 o'clock at night in Manila. Hope some of you, my dear friends, are still are still up and watching us live. Welcome to another episode of Ask the Drummer. Um, this week's guest is actually he's an American. He's an American drummer, but he lives in Wales, and that's the reason why I've been practicing my Welsh, my Croeso. And he's moved here. I think he's been living here for 9 years now, which is similar to me. I moved to Manchester about nearly 30 years ago now, because I love everything Manc, not just the music, but everything Manchester. And I believe he loves everything Welsh as well. That's why he's here. That's that's the similarity between us. But anyways, he's here today, and I'm really excited about talking to him. So, my dear friends, please welcome Kliph Scurlock. Yay!
Hi,
Hello, Cliff. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you doing? And you
Um,
pronounced Crosso great.
oh, okay. Oh, brilliant. Thank you. Yeah. So that's right. You love everything Welsh, or maybe not everything, but you love
Everything but the weather.
everything with the weather. Okay. Because you're from Kansas, and is Kansas weather so like nice all the time, or
No, I mean it gets brutally cold in the winter and brutally hot in the summer, but it
yeah.
doesn't rain 379 days a year like it does here. So, um, have like a rainy season in the spring, and then that's usually pretty much it. And then in the wintertime, it's so cold that if it does precipitate, it's snow, which is beautiful, as opposed to here where it's like bone chilling cold, but stays just above freezing so that it can still rain.
Well, Manchester has got that reputation that it rains all the time in Manchester, but it doesn't. I mean, that's the thing that when I moved from the UAE, because from the Philippines I went to the UAE and then to Manchester. Some of the British guys have said to me, "You must be crazy moving to Manchester and choosing it, living in Abu Dhabi or something, because it rains all the time there, and it just doesn't. It's not raining now, so
Right. Well, yeah, it's not currently raining here either, but
yeah. So would
I'm
you?
sure it will in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah. So will you consider yourself a Welsh file? Is that how you say it? Because it's like with me, I'm a Mancuno file or something.
I would say that's a pretty apt description.
Yeah.
I first heard Gorky's, and um, well, I suppose it's not a total surprise coming from a country that was colonized by the English, where English is the language, but we weren't even taught that. Like, we were taught that the UK is a lot like the US, and that you know England and Scotland and Ireland and Wales
Yeah.
are like states, as opposed to their own individual countries with
Oh,
their own individual languages and cultures. And so I didn't even know there was a Welsh language. And when I first heard Gorky's, it's like, this music's amazing. And they sing half their stuff in a made up language. Um, and then I found out, no, they're singing in Welsh. They're from Wales. And it's like, oh, what else is going on in Wales? And heard super furry animals, and it's like, holy crap. And yeah, that just that the door was just kicked wide open at that
yeah.
point, where I just wanted to know, like, where does this magical music that's rooted close enough into something that I'm familiar with, that I can understand it and get into it, yet at the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
time sounds so completely unique. And yet those two bands had some of those like foreign to me the elements that I'd never heard in music before. They had those in common. It's like there's got to be something in the water over there. What's going on in Wales? And a few years later, I ended up meeting Eros and meeting Griff and the other furries, and they were both great about wanting to wow, there's this guy that's interested in what's going on in our country that most people don't give a shit about. And they'd send me records and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's mainly music. It's like with me, the reason why I wanted to come here and live here is because of Manchester music. I just thought, God, it must be, that this place must be full of musicians, because like when I was in the Philippines, like with the Smiths and New Order and all those bands, and then when I was in the UAE, it's the Stone Roses and Happy Mondays and like Inspire Carpets. I thought I really wanted to be that, so
Right.
that's why I'm here. But before we actually continue, I just want to give a massive shout out to Stuart Kidd.
Yeah, Stu.
Yes, Stuart Kidd. Really, he did it. He played in Bells Hill on Friday. If I was in
Oh,
another
nice.
gig, I would have gone, because I really love Stuart Kidd. He's amazing.
He
So
is. He's one of the one of the loveliest people that have ever to ever exist, really, and just such an amazingly talented, creative
yes,
musician.
yeah,
Like not just as a drummer, but on other
multi.
instruments. He
Yeah.
writes great songs. He sings great. He's just he's the total package.
Yes, yeah. Um yeah, thank you so much, Stuart Kidd. But Aiden is our tech support, and he's in France, and he said sound and picture coming through great here to Northwest France. So that's brilliant.
Uh,
Okay, thanks for that. Welcome to Ask the Drummer. Episode 163 is all about you, Kliph Scurlock.
well,
Your
thanks
name
for
is
having me.
oh no, thank you so much for saying yes. Your name is really unusual, because
Oh well, so the KLIPH isn't my birth spelling. It's my name's Clifton, Clifton. But in 8th grade, that's a long story. But I had a battle with a teacher, and just to be a shithead, I changed the
yeah,
spelling just to kind of get on her nerves, and it stuck. So that's just been what it's been since about 8th grade.
oh
I mean,
well, it's, everybody just calls you Cliff with a K now. Okay.
yeah. I mean, I think the fact that at the time that I joined the Lips, that's how it started getting printed with stuff. Just because, well, that's how Wayne and Steven knew me. Then, yeah,
Yeah,
at that point, it was just that's who I'm gonna probably be forever, which is fine.
yeah, yeah. And your last name's Scurlock. That's unusual, isn't it? As well, isn't it?
Well,
And where are the Scurlocks from?
apparently it's Welsh. The first of my father's side, the first Scurlocks that immigrated to the U.S. were Welsh coal miners. Um,
Oh,
I haven't seen any Scurlocks over here, and now with my understanding of the Welsh language, granted it's a small understanding, but with the understanding that I have, with there being no K in the alphabet,
yeah,
I figure
yeah,
maybe it's Irish. Maybe Scurlocks had immigrated to Wales from Ireland and then to the States. So I don't really know.
yeah. It's
But
unusual because the Welsh alphabet's got 29 letters, but they haven't got a K, they haven't got a Z, they haven't got an
right,
X,
no, yeah, no Q.
no Q. And it's like, I remember the first time I came here, and then we drove to North Wales. I've noticed it's like double F and then double L, and then there was so like the road signs, and I used to ask my husband, is it just to let people know that you're now entering Wales because it's like Flint. I think Flint will have like like double F and things like that.
Right.
Oh, I can't remember. Yeah, I think there's something there that's he said no, it's actually part of the Welsh alphabet. So they have double L, double F, and they I think they even have like an NG, which is like
Yeah.
also,
Yeah.
yeah,
And a CH
and a CH,
and
yeah.
and double D as well. Yeah. But the cool thing is, so I don't speak much Welsh. I took a Welsh language class, and
Yeah,
with all the time I'd spent around Griff and like Ocean and the other guys in the band, I learned a handful of Welsh words. And but anyway, so I went to this Welsh class and did great for 3 weeks, and then went on tour with Griff for 3 weeks and missed 3 classes. And then when I came back, they had just shot so far ahead that I was never able to catch up. But the cool thing is that, yeah, once you understand the language, like, you can kind of read stuff and everything's sort of pronounced, phonetically the way it's spelled, as
so
opposed
yeah,
to English where C can be k or s,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's not like that in Welsh. If you see the C, it's always the hard C, and if it's
Yeah,
ever um, so yeah, no, it's a really cool language. It's a difficult language. It's not
yeah.
for dummies like me, that's for sure.
But you're in Cardiff, because
Right.
the one thing I mean, I have been to Cardiff and I have been to South Wales, but I've been to North Wales more than the South Wales. But the one thing that I've noticed when I used to go, because my sister-in-law used to have a house there when she was still, when she was still alive, and we used to go there often. But the one thing that I've noticed that the locals, as soon as they know that they will speak in English, but as soon as they know that someone is not a local, then they will start talking Welsh. It was like, so is it like
That
that in Cardiff as well?
Well, I think that's actually a very I've read that accusation from people, and I don't think it's true. It's just, I think it's in North Wales, Welsh is still their primary language, and everybody does understand English. But
Yeah,
say Griff, for example. I'll just use him as an example, although he's not unique in this. When he was brought up, he was never taught English. Like, his parents spoke to him in Welsh. He went to Welsh school and just spoke Welsh. And then over time, through watching TV, being exposed to the English language, he learned English, which
yeah,
is
yeah,
also why, everybody that, sees Griff do an interview or speak on stage, just like, God, that guy's perpetually stoned. And it's like, he's not. He just, Welsh is his language, and he can speak English, but he has to translate everything before he can say it in English, and therefore, it's a little slower than
yeah,
me,
yeah,
who English is my language. And so it's no, the further north you get, it's just, that's the language they speak. So if you go in somewhere, that's what that's just what they're speaking. And I know there are some people that, like, well, they didn't start speaking Welsh until I walked in. It's like, well, how would you know? Were you standing out, like, spying
watching.
on their conversation? My
Yeah,
my experiences have been, as a non-Welsh speaker, that it's the same as going to Japan or Germany or anywhere else that has their own language. That
yeah, yeah,
if you're kind about the fact that, like, I'm sorry, I'm in your country and I don't speak your language, then they'll be really cool about it and speak English with you. But you don't get that as much in South Wales. There has been a push over the last 10, 15 years for there to be more Welsh schools and things like that. But most most people in South Wales, English is their first language,
Yeah.
unless unless the parents have really made an effort to for Welsh to be the first language. Like, Griff's kids learned Welsh first, and
And then,
picked up English. But
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Anyway,
yeah, I can relate to that one because coming from the Philippines, sometimes I have to, when I think in Tagalog, but then I have to translate it in English. So sometimes it is a bit slow. But
right.
about you, can you just give us a bit of background before moving to Wales? Can you just give us a background information, like where were you born and all
Uh,
that?
well, I was born in Topeka, Kansas, and my mom was a musician and a great lover of music. So I don't have any memory. Like, my earliest memories revolve around music in some
Music, yeah, yeah.
fashion. So yeah, just got bit by the music bug really young, and yeah, just after I graduated high school, I moved to Lawrence, Kansas, which is a college town and has a good music scene, and started playing in bands, and you know had some that made records and did some touring, but never got never made it to the second rung of the ladder, so to speak. Um, and then in 2002, uh, joined the Flaming Lips. Just happened to be in the right place at the right time. Like, the Lips had been my favorite band for a number of years,
Yeah.
and I had a couple of friends in common with them, and just happened to be in a place one time where they showed up late and needed some help, and I helped them load in. Um, and I remember Wayne asking my friend Trent, like, do you know this fucking guy? And Trent's like, oh yeah, he's a good friend of mine, and he's a
Okay.
musician. He knows what he's doing. Like,
Yeah.
he's not gonna
It's
drop
not
your stuff
popular.
and and,
Yeah.
and break it. And yeah, and so then I became a roadie for the Lips, and then there was just a a, a time when they needed a drummer, and I was there, and Wayne was like, uh let's you play drums, right? Like, yeah. He's like, cool, come to practice, let's see what you can do. And then, yeah, I became a member of the Lips, and was
Yeah, yeah.
was in the band for about 12 years, and
Okay.
then uh had
Well,
a had a falling out with Wayne. And I'd played with Griff previously here and there, but after I
yeah.
was out of the Lips, Griff's drummer pulled out of a tour like less than a week before the tour started, and Griff just emailed me like, do you want to do this tour? And I said, fuck yeah. Is it okay to swear?
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah,
I
of
have a
course.
I
No,
have
no,
a
that's fine. You're all right.
okay,
Yeah.
cool. I just wanted to make sure I talked like a sailor.
Yeah.
And
No.
so summer of 2014, I came over, and yeah, I was here for about a month and a half,
Yeah.
and just fell in love with the place, and um, just loved working with Griff. I mean, I'd always loved working with Griff, but it was always, just a real quick thing. It's always different when you actually like get in the van with someone, and
Yeah,
you're with
and
someone 24 hours a
yeah,
day.
yeah,
Like, you can find, like, man, it really drives me nuts the way they pick their toenails all day long or something. And where, after spending a summer with Griff, it was like, holy shit, I didn't think I could possibly like and respect this guy any more than I did, but I do. Wow, he's actually like fucking cooler than I thought. Um, and yeah, and
yeah.
so
Then
I did
you said.
came over a few more times to do stuff with Griff and just really loved it over
Yeah.
here. And also wanted to. There were a few things Griff had done, like one-off shows where it just didn't make sense to fly me over for one show, and then I'd be like, I want to do it. I want to do it. So it's like, well, if I'm there, then Griff has no excuse to get
Get you
anybody
involved.
else. I mean, unless he got to the point where he wanted a good drummer. But luckily, he's been happy with my mediocrity up until this point.
Oh. Well, if we go back before you actually joined the Flaming Lips, because on Google, your Wikipedia entry actually says that you bought a drum kit at 16. Is that from your own money when you bought a drum kit, or is it so?
Yeah. I did just little odd jobs. My uncle was the principal of a junior high school, and every year before school would start up for the year, because the school years are different over there than they are here.
Yeah.
Whereas like here you have lots of have to go for like 5 or 6 weeks, and then you get like a week break, and 5 or 6 weeks week break, a longer break at Christmas. In the States, you start generally end of August, and you'll get a little break around Christmas, and you'll get a little break in the spring. But other than that, you just go straight till the end of May, and then you have 3 months off.
Yeah.
So I would, for several years leading up to the start of the new school year, would go work at my uncle's junior high, like taking the new textbooks to the classes, cleaning things, blah blah blah. And so
you saved up, and but did you have what I'm gonna say is, have you always been drawn to the drums, and did you have like proper drumming lessons, or you just bought a drum kit and started playing it without?
Well, no, I mean, I was initially drawn to guitar, and I took guitar lessons when I was like 4, 5, 6. But I just don't have the coordination to make my fingers do what I want them to. So I got frustrated after a couple years of playing guitar and thought, oh, maybe I'll play a piano, because my mom had a piano in the basement. And again, same, no coordination. And then my mom took me to see the Who documentary, The Kids Are All Right. And when I saw Keith Moon, it was like, that looks fun. And that looks like, like, I don't know if I can do that, but I think I can do something sort of like it.
Yeah.
And then my cousin Craig had a snare drum. He'd been in school band, and he gave me the snare drum, and I joined school band. And that's where I learned drums, I guess. I never had formal lessons, but just kind of learned playing in school band. And then when I was 16, finally got a kit, and that was I mean, I already knew this is what I wanted to dedicate my life to, but the moment I actually sat down and played an actual drum kit and could play a very poor rendition of, but say, my favorite Led Zeppelin song or something, it's like, yes, this is it. This is the most fun I've ever had. Yes. And never grown out of it.
Yeah. And then at 18, you left home. Did you bring your drum kit with you when you left?
Oh, of course. I mean, to be fair, Lawrence is only about 30 miles away from Topeka. Like culturally, it's a completely different world, but geographically, it never took more than 45 minutes to drive to my parents' house, for family dinners or whatever.
Yeah. And then you joined because I looked at your Discogs entry as well. You've got so many entries there. I think you've been in so many bands. I mean, I'm not gonna ask you about all those bands that you were in, but there are some interesting ones like Slackjaw. I think is that your very first band,
That
Slackjaw?
was that. Well, I was in a bad like top 40 cover band when I was living in Topeka, but Slackjaw was the first band I was in that we played our original
Original, yeah,
material.
original material, yeah,
Um, terrible band. But I mean, but we were all kids. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't, um, we were still learning, and so we hadn't. None of us had developed our own language on our instruments, so to speak, and we didn't.
yeah,
We
yeah.
we never got any further than just copying bands that we loved.
But it's original though. You have your original songs, and you've released it.
Yeah, well, I mean, original in the sense that we originally stole this from this person and this
Oh,
from this person and put it together. But yeah, I mean, it's all. I mean, I don't want to discount it because it was a lot of fun and I learned a lot from it and got a lot of experience.
yeah, yeah.
But
And
the
it's a
music
metal
itself
band.
just.
Is it
I'm
a
just
heavy metal band,
uh,
Slackjaw, or how would you
it
go and
was
describe it?
kind of metal-ish. I mean, when I they were already going before I joined, and when I joined, it was very much uh, like a Black Flag influence, like kind of hardcore
It's a
band.
punk,
But
punk and
yeah,
hardcore. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
Okay.
then we started, you know, uh, listening to like the Melvins and the Jesus Lizard and Helmet, and the singer Doug was a huge fan of Rollins, and so as Rollins band went in a more metal direction, that became an influence. So it did turn into, yeah, sort of that that style of metal, whatever you
Yeah,
call
yeah,
it, that like Rollins band and Melvins
yeah, yeah.
were.
Melvins are actually doing a tour this year. Have you seen?
Yeah, I
Have you
I
seen?
did. Yeah, I'm hoping to. Yeah, I'm hoping I can catch the Bristol show. I've unfortunately missed them the last couple times, and yeah, it's been too long since I've seen him.
Yeah. One thing I know about Melvins is because I work in a record shop in Manchester, and every 7-inch record by Melvins or the Melvins, they're very expensive. And I'm like, sometimes I feel
Right.
like, okay, I want to give this a try, but I'm not going to pay an awful lot of money for something I'm not even so like sure whether I'd like it or not. So, yeah. So, anyway, so there are other bands that you were in. Any of those that you wanted to talk about? Because there's like Contortion House, Kill Creek, and Cinemagic. These are all indie rock bands.
Yeah. Well, Kill Creek was definitely indie rock. Cinemagic was a studio project that it was this guy Randy Lacey and my friend Trent, who's a record producer and used to run sound for the Lips, which is how I met them. Um, yeah, he just sort of put that together because he thought Randy had these great songs, and he's like, "Come in, and I'll get my friends to play on your stuff." And so, it was never an actual band. We never played live or anything, but it was it was still a fun thing to do. To like on a couple of weekends drive down to Norman, Oklahoma, go in the studio, play drums, and then like a year or so later, like I get copies of it in the mail, like, whoa, there's a record I'm on. And yeah, Contortion Horse was more. Well, it wasn't my band. It was it was a product of all three of us, but it definitely, yeah, I loved that band
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot. And
Well,
yeah.
there's one that's more pop, apparently, according to Discogs. Air Station. Is that like a
Oh,
is that like
yeah,
a pop?
air,
Yeah, pop band.
I don't know how you'd classify that. That was just something that a friend of mine and I did. There was there was a period where the Lips had just been uh, touring and recording like crazy, and we just and Steven just got burnt out, and said, "Look, I'm missing being there while my kids are growing up. I'm not into this." So we decided to take uh, 6 months off.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know what to do with myself if I'm not making music. So I harangued a friend into like, let's make some music. And um, yeah, we didn't really know what it was going to be. It just kind of became what it was as we were doing it. It's I even though I don't think I don't think it was never the intent, but a lot of people are like, oh, it kind of sounds like Zappa. Um, so I don't know. It's
Oh, so
we
have you got any favorites? These bands that you were in. Do you have like a favorite band that you want to sort of like reform or maybe get
um
together with the other band members and do it again?
well the Mark, who I started Contortion Horse with, and then Daryl, who was um our the bass player, the last bass player in the band. We had a couple of different bass players. We actually still do stuff from time to time. It's tough because they're in Seattle and we're trading files, through the internet. But I still like playing with them, but I wouldn't want to revisit Contortion Horse really as much as I still have a great fondness for that stuff. It's
Yeah, yeah.
that was 30 years ago at this point, and
You've got something else now. You've got your
yeah,
own.
it would just feel like playing covers at this point. I would think I was a much younger person, and um, so
I also, yeah, sorry but I also found that you're a fan of Badfinger
I
from your.
love Badfinger.
Well, I don't know if you've heard, but Joey Molland is died, or he passed
Oh,
away today.
I didn't know. I mean, I read that he's been in ill health
Uh,
lately, but didn't know if
yes.
it was
Well,
something
it
he
says
pulled.
that it's complication from diabetes, something like that. So rest in peace, Joey Molland. Yeah, yeah. I just saw it on Facebook today as well. So
That's
I thought,
wow. That's all four of them gone.
yeah, you
Damn.
know,
Anyway,
it's well, yeah. Well, I had a chat with one of our friends before about because like Rick Buckler also is gone. He's left, and it seems like every day now you see musicians like dying. Hey, it's just one of those things that because you feel it yourself. You're old. It's not just the musicians that are old. I mean, you're like I'm old myself, and it
oh
seems
yeah,
like
I
now
feel it
we
every morning when I get out of bed.
we've now reached that stage that it's like you know gonna be soon. It will be our turn soon. But anyways, no, I don't want to talk about things like that now. So I just thought I'd let you know because I found out that you're a Badfinger fan. So yeah,
Yeah, I didn't even know they were Welsh for the longest time. Yeah, so there you
yeah,
go. The Swansea's finest.
Yeah, but the one that I saw on Facebook, apparently Joey Molan was born in, I think, in Liverpool, and
Yeah,
then he,
he was. Yeah, they their bass player left after um, they were called the Ivies before they were Badfinger, and they made one record, and then the bass player left, and management knew Joey Molland and thought he would be a great fit and brought him
yeah,
in, and then Tom Evans, who had played guitar, moved to bass to accommodate uh, Joey Molland coming in.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I'm a super nerd when it comes to stuff. So just tell me to shut up at any point before I just
I know
tell.
it's great talking to fellow music fans because you learn a lot from them as well. Because it's great. But let's talk about the Flaming Lips. So you started as a roadie for you were in the right place at the right time, and then
I got really really lucky to
yeah,
you know because if you know any of a number of things
yeah,
hadn't happened. I mean, if the Flaming Lips would have showed up on time for their show that I was going to, uh, I wouldn't have. They would have already been there, and I wouldn't have helped them load in. Um, so just that kind of weird thing right there that they just happened to be late for a show, and I was already there, and you, you know. Yeah, just there a million little things that if one of them had happened differently,
yeah.
it's, yeah, somebody else would have probably would have ended up in the lips rather
Yeah.
than me.
Were you in the band? Were you playing in the band that time that you became a roadie for the Flaming Lips?
Yeah, I was in a band called Panel Donor at the time,
Okay.
um,
Yeah.
and we had we had split up by the time I joined the Lips. At the time, I actually joined the Lips as a player. I wasn't in. I don't think I was in a band at that point. Uh, I'd started tour managing bands. There's a band from Lawrence called Ultimate Fake Book that I tour managed quite a bit, and a band from Austin called Shotzi that I'd gone out with a bunch, and so I kind of I'm trying to think back because it was all it all just kind of happened so fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I was actually playing with anyone at the time that I joined the Lips.
Yeah. But
I think
you're already a fan. You're a fan of the Flaming Lips because you were already there waiting for them
I
to
was
like.
a I've been a huge fan for a long time. Just yeah, they were my absolute favorite band in the whole world, and
What's it like then when they ask you to become their drummer? It must be like a dream come true or something like that.
it I mean it was, but it was like I said, everything happened so fast that I didn't really get a chance to reflect on it right away. That because then it was just all of a sudden you know we're rehearsing with Beck really intensely because we're going to be Beck's band for a 4 month long tour, um, and just all this stuff. And it wasn't until the night of the first show of the Beck tour where we played, we opened up, and then we were Beck's band. But
Yeah.
I was kind of standing there watching people come in, and that's when it actually hit me. That's like,
You.
wait, holy crap! I'm getting ready to. Oh, wow!
Right.
What? And that was the first time that it actually kind of sunk in. And then yeah, I can remember just going up to Wayne and being like, "Holy shit, dude, I'm in the Flaming Lips." He's like, "Yeah, dipshit, you've been in the band for a while now." Like, and I'm like, "Yeah, I know, but I mean, we've been doing this other stuff, and but like, we're getting ready to play, and I'm going to be playing." He's like, "Well, yeah, you better." And he just, like, and I'm like, "Wow, this is amazing. I can't believe I'm in the Flaming Lips." He's like, "Yeah, sorry, you said yes, you're stuck." And I'm like, um,
Yeah, well, it's a shame that you weren't there because I saw them play in Leeds in 20, I think it was 2022, when
mm,
they did a tour. It was, I know it's after we had the lockdown and COVID and everything, because they still had that big bubble. Because
oh yeah,
Wayne was in that big bubble, and the production, I couldn't believe that, because that was my first time that I saw the Flaming Lips. I don't know if
right.
it's always like that, but the production was absolutely incredible. They
Well,
had that, yeah, they had
oh,
two
sorry.
drummers as well. They had two drummers at
Yeah,
the
yeah.
time. It was like,
Um, but no, that was one of the things that I mean, it was the Lips music that, that I, responded to and why they were my favorite band. But, extra bonus points went to, yeah, they always, at whatever kind of production they could do, they did. And, it could be something like really low tech, and generally was something really low tech. Like, there was one tour where they just had these nets that they'd, put Christmas lights, like zip tied
oh,
Christmas lights in, and they'd
yeah,
hang these nets wherever. And at some point in the set, they would just kick on all the Christmas lights, and it was so powerful, and no other bands, playing small clubs were doing it, where it's
yeah,
just like,
yeah,
so that was, another thing that drew me to that band. Because I always feel the music is the most important thing, but I love a light show or a video presentation, or
yeah, yeah,
something. As long as the music's on point, then why not throw everything else at it? And so
yeah. And they had all these, like, they had balloons that spelled Leeds.
oh
And
yeah,
in places like Liverpool, they also have balloons that spell Liverpool and all those things. I just thought, God, this is absolutely incredible. And then realized, I mean, the music, of course, was great. I mean, that's the first time I've seen them. And I thought it's got such an amazing voice. But it's the overall show. They really gave an amazing show that time in Leeds. And I was like, whoa. But when
yeah.
I found out that you were in the Flaming Lips, I looked at my videos and all the thing, and then I realized, oh, he's already gone by that
Oh
time. So,
yeah,
because I normally take videos of the drummers, and they had two drummers there, and I
right,
think, well, they wore wigs. They wore like green colored wigs, and I was thinking,
right.
one of them is one of them Kliph Scurlock, and then no, it's not him.
No,
Yeah. So 12 years of the Flaming Lips. You must have
yeah,
had, such an amazing time
yeah,
playing in one of your favorite bands.
yeah. I mean, it really was. I mean, it was a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. A lot of early mornings and late nights and all of that. But it was still, I yeah, it was still great. I yeah wouldn't do feel very lucky to
Yeah, to be,
have
yeah, to
uh,
that
yeah have
experience.
Yeah, yeah.
The memories of being in the Flaming Lips. But now that, because it didn't last long, that after you left Flaming Lips, you got involved with Griff,
Yeah,
and
it was just a
not long
couple of
after
months later. And I'd done some stuff with him before, and again, it really was just some lucky occurrences. He was in the U.S. Uh, doing a tour and filming his movie American Interior, and the Lips. We had a week off when Griff was going to be playing in St. Louis, and Columbia, Missouri, and Omaha, Nebraska, like all of which are 6 hours or less from
where you.
Lawrence. And I told
Yeah.
Griff, I'm going to come to these shows. Should I bring drums? Oh yeah, great. Um, so I did, and ended up playing with him at these shows, and then several months later, he was coming back to film some more stuff for American Interior, and asked, hey, would you want to record those songs that we were playing? Like, oh yeah. And we figured out that from where he was going to be and where I was, that like Omaha, Nebraska was kind of in the middle. And then it turned out that we have a mutual friend that has a recording studio in Omaha,
Oh,
Nebraska. And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
um and so yeah, he was, and so it was like that record and that movie, and which there was also a book and an app with it that he was promoting when his drummer left, like I said, really suddenly. And so again, had I not you know have
Left
like
the
played
Flaming
played on
Lips.
the record that he was touring to promote
Oh,
or
okay, yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
like
yeah.
like would I, some guy from another country, would I be like his first choice, especially when like every single person in Wales would like cut off a at least two fingers to be able to play with Griff, like, so it just again, it was just yeah, just I got really lucky.
Yeah, because also if you hadn't left the Flaming Lips, I mean, would you accept that offer? I mean, if you were still in the Flaming Lips at the time, you
um
probably couldn't.
Well, I mean, if I'd been in the Lips, I don't think Griff would have asked, and I don't think I would have had time to do it
To do
because
it. Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
were, it was very full on. It wasn't, we didn't take, we didn't really take time off. We'd have, a week or 2 weeks, here and there, but for the
Yeah.
most part, we were always doing stuff, which, like I said, that point where we actually took 6 months off, like that's probably the first time that band had taken, 6 months off since it first started back in
Oh,
1983. So yeah, I mean, chances are, like, yeah, the idea of being able to uh, come over here for 6 weeks to tour with Griff, like, there's
yeah,
a
yeah.
99% chance that just wouldn't have been possible, even if Griff had asked. But yeah, it was because I'd been kicked out of the Lips, and Griff knew it and knew I was available. And then, yeah, like I said,
The
was
task. Yeah, yeah,
touring a record
yeah.
that I had played on.
Well, well, I always believe that things happen for a reason. So that's why you're from there, and then now you're living in Wales. So are you actually? Have you got a UK passport now, or is it a
No, I
dual?
mean, I've got residency, but I'm still an American citizen.
Okay, right, yeah, yeah.
Um, I don't see giving up my citizenship because I also don't think it matters. I think borders are they're just a
Yeah,
weird
yeah.
construct, and they're kind of pointless. Like we're all human
Well,
beings living on
that's true.
Earth, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have given up my Philippine passport if it wasn't for convenience, because otherwise, I mean, every time, like when I came here in 1996, you just go to France, say France or Ireland, you have to apply for visas all the time. But
Oh, really?
if you carry a British passport, then you can just go anywhere. Because my husband will just go to a separate line, and then we'll have to go to London and apply for a visa for me. And all it is just a weekend in Ireland or something.
Right.
So I thought, well, the best thing really is just get a British passport so we can just go wherever we want. Because having a Philippines passport, it sort of like stops you from traveling, which is,
Yeah.
so. But anyway, so is there anything that you miss? Because in America, like I
I
don't know,
do. I mean,
food.
I miss my friends terribly. There's a lot of food that I miss. The I miss driving over there. Like the interstate system is just amazing. You know, I love I love playing music, which is why I do this. But I also love just touring, like most everything about touring, but
Yeah,
especially touring in the States because it's so easy to drive and the roads are just so long and straight and wide open. And, you can just really get in a zone driving over
yeah,
there that you can't here.
we hear you.
So yeah, there are a number of things that I do miss.
How
And
often do you go back?
mm, I mean, since COVID, it hasn't been very much. Not to be like a downer or whatever, but the combination of the pandemic and then Brexit happening,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah,
there just hasn't been. It, it's really. I mean, combined with also now that like, everybody streams and nobody buys records, and the streaming services don't really pay, and so you know whereas up until the pandemic and while we were part of the EU, I was always pretty steadily employed and had you know money to go back every 6 months or so. Since then it hasn't been as much, and it's I've had to just whenever been going over there to tour, just stay longer after the tour's over.
yeah, yeah.
So I've been have been pretty homesick lately and would love to go, but
Oh,
yeah, it's not feasible at the moment. But
yeah.
well, that's life, isn't it?
I know the feeling because I mean, lately I've been feeling homesick as well because I still have my brothers and my sister living in the Philippines, but it will come. Someday I can go home. I haven't been back for 7 years now, so
Wow.
yeah, but I will go. I will go home one day.
Because
Um,
it had. I was there last year, but before that, I think it had been 3 years since I was
oh,
back, and it just seemed, yeah, it just seemed
so,
like forever. I can't imagine like not going back for 7 years. But you said you've lived here for like 30 years at this
yeah,
point.
yeah. I've been here. Yeah, I moved in 1996, so it was like nearly 30 years now. But yeah, but I
Yes.
used to, when I had a lot more money,
Hmm.
coming from, because from the Philippines, I went to the Middle East, and that's when, you just working in the Middle East, you just save quite a lot of money from it. So I used to go, when I moved there, I used to go like every year, but not anymore.
Right.
It's not easy now. But anyway, so you did a tour with Gruff Rhys last year. I was gonna go and see you in Manchester at the time, but I think it clashed with another gig. I mean, I think
Mm.
especially this year. I mean, last year was the same, but this year it's like everybody wanted to gig and wanted to do shows and things like that. The clashes are just absolutely for me. Would not want to do all these gigs. You couldn't. You just have to choose. But anyway, so last year you were in Manchester, and I was gonna go and see you, but unfortunately I didn't. So, is there a tour plan? Are you planning another tour for this year or
Um,
soon?
not not that I'm aware of. We have like some sporadic shows here and there, but
Yeah.
uh, well, there's something that hasn't been announced yet that Griff's going to be doing some touring, but it's going to primarily be uh, him acoustic. He's presenting presenting a particular show.
Yeah.
This thing might get announced tomorrow, and I'll feel silly not talking about it. But it's also one thing I've learned is record labels really like to be the ones to announce when
Yeah.
something's coming out. I had said something on social media years and years ago when the Lips, we had finished a record and had been given a release date, and somebody had asked like, man, it's been a couple years since the Lips record, like, oh, we got one coming out in August or whatever, and people at the record label are just like, no, we had the whole plan for how we were going to do the rollout and you just ruined it. And I'm like, oh shit, sorry.
Oh.
So yeah, I can't comment, but Griff's going to be doing some touring, and we will do some shows with the full band. I think I haven't seen dates yet. This is just going by. I had lunch with Griff a couple days ago, and we got to chat, and he's like, "Oh yeah, and I think we'll do this and do that." And it's like, cool. But I would assume the next like real campaign, so to speak, would be with whenever the next record comes out, which hasn't been recorded yet. So I have no idea when that could happen. And with Griff, I don't know. I could get a call where he's like, "Oh, what are you doing on Friday?" Like, let's go record the new record. So it's yeah, you never know with Griff. It's things are generally pretty spontaneous, which keeps it fun and interesting.
But you're not exclusively playing just with Griff. You're also involved with other Welsh musicians.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not playing with anybody else at the moment, but yeah, it's not. But yeah, like Griff doesn't own me or anything.
He doesn't say, no, you can't play with any other musicians.
I'm free to do whatever. But no, I've actually had this thing for going on a year and a half now, and it's getting better. It's close to being healed. But have you ever heard of frozen shoulder?
No.
So it's no, it's
okay, sorry.
No, it's a terrible thing that happens to people, and it's a weird autoimmune disease. But the thing is and so it things in your shoulder literally like freeze up, and so I'm not trying to do a Nazi salute, by the way. I hate Nazis, very against Nazis. Just I'm not trying to do that. I'm showing the range of motion that I have in my shoulders. Not trying to be Elon Musk.
Oh
No.
God, no.
but
No.
but that and this is after like over a year of doing like physical therapy and stuff like that. So it basically it started out just being painful, but I still had full range of motion. But if I like reached up here to grab like a bowl off of a shelf, or
Yeah, yeah.
like trying to dry my hair or something like that, it would just be intense pain. And having drummed for so long, it just made sense. I injured
Is
it
that a
somehow, so I
common?
need to.
Yeah, is that a common thing that drummers get, or anyone
It's
can get it, or?
anyone can get it. Because after I got it, well, once I got the diagnosis, because like I said at first, it just hurt really bad. But I thought, well, that makes sense. I've battered it a lot over the years. I probably injured it somehow. So I was like, so I just have to try not to use it, and it will heal up. And it just got worse, and my range of motion got less and less and less. And um, we were, yeah, I mean, we had a bunch of touring last year, and it was getting close to where we were going to need to start rehearsing. And I just told Griff, um, I don't think I can do it. I can't physically play drums. And
Yeah.
Griff, bless his heart, even though he could have like any drummer on the planet he wanted, um, and could get somebody good and nice. Um, he sent me to, and because the NHS things move very slowly, he paid to send me to an osteopath that was like, right, this is frozen shoulder. Okay, to get you into any sort of shape where you can kind of do your job, you're gonna need a cortisone injection. He paid for that. um, Sent me back to the osteopath a couple more times to start
Yeah.
physical therapy, and um, I had to change the way that I set up my drums and change the way that I play and readapt everything, but was able to do it.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
the which is great, but then the side effect is you keep kind of re-injuring it, and it takes longer to heal. So yeah, so I haven't done much outside of playing with Griff for um, the last couple years, and part of it also involves the effects of Brexit, of streaming, that there's just no money in this business or whatever anymore. Unless you're the Red Hot Chili Peppers or something that can charge £300 per concert ticket. Um, so, but no, I'm hoping, like I said, it's getting better. It's not all the way better, but that's the nature of frozen shoulder. I found is it does take a long time to completely open it back up and get your full range of motion again. But yeah, I'm hoping once it heals that,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know, I'm gonna call everybody I know and
Are, are
just
you
be.
taking anything for it, or have you got like
No,
tablets?
it's
Whatever?
just I mean, ibuprofen for the pain. But no, it's more, I could get more cortisone injections, which would help it open up quicker. But
Okay. So you just wait for it to
yeah, just
get
there, I have
better.
exercises I do every day, and it just, very slowly gets better. One of those things that, like, if I was to look back a week ago, like, I've made no progress. But if I look back like a month, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I can actually do this now. Okay, it is getting, yeah, it's
Sure.
frustrating, but yeah, no, I mean, but once I got diagnosed as it's frozen shoulder and would talk to friends about it, um, yeah, just several of my friends have had it over the years, or they've known people that have had it. Their parents have gotten it, and some of them, a lot of them, being people that aren't actively abusing their body the way I
Yeah.
do. So yeah, it's just a weird
Well, I hope,
autoimmune thing.
yeah, I hope you feel better soon. I didn't realize I'm not. That's the first time I've heard of frozen shoulder, but I'll look it up because I know there's like tennis elbow or whatever. When they have, because there is that
Right.
thing. It's like, but
Hmm.
frozen shoulder. Well, yeah. Good luck, and hopefully we'll get better soon.
Well,
And
thanks. Sorry, I don't mean to be a downer. Like,
no, no, just no. It's actually you told me about it because I thought maybe because I know that tinnitus is one of those things that a lot of drummers get. That's the with their ears.
hmm,
But so I'm just wondering whether that's another thing that drummers get is like frozen shoulder. But anyone can just
yeah, it's
and
just a
it's like
it's just a weird fluke thing that
yeah,
happens. But
yeah,
but the good thing, according to the osteopath, is that uh, you something once you free it up and you're back
yeah.
to normal, that something gets imprinted on your brain, and I'll
Just heal
that that
itself.
I'll never that'll never happen again in my life. Now it could happen to the other shoulder. But they said that's really rare that someone gets frozen shoulder in both
On
shoulders.
both.
That
Yeah,
usually
yeah,
it's one or the other. They get over it, and then that's it forever. So um,
yeah,
you know, knock on wood. That's how.
yeah.
Anyway,
Well, yeah, I hope you get better soon. But going back to your Discogs entry, I've noticed that you're also described as the chief archivist and remaster project owner for Super Furry Animals. So
yeah,
so uh so do you just get all their material and what
yeah.
do you do
It's
as a chief archivist?
um, I mean, it just started again that first summer that I came over here. It was summer, so it was primarily doing festivals. So we were away playing on the weekends and then in town during the week, and just being like, a massive Super Furry Animals fan. There was one night I was hanging out over at Griff's and just started poking through his record collection as I do, and then just he had these stacks of like CDRs, and would be SFA and then a certain date, and it's like, wait, what's this? And he's like, oh, I think those are all rough mixes of Rings Around the World stuff. Oh, I think that, and I'm like, oh, holy shit, I want to hear this. And so went back to the place I was staying with a stack of CDRs, and then happened to see Keon a little bit later and was telling him about some of this stuff I'd discovered, because on a couple of them would be songs that had never been released, like,
Really?
hey,
Oh wow.
what happened to
Yeah.
this song? And he's like, oh, and then he just said, I've got a bunch of stuff on hard drive, and might not be a bad idea to have a copy of all that stuff, like, somewhere far away in case of like some sort of environmental disaster, or a fire or something. um and so I just, yeah, copied literally everything that Griff had, everything Keon had.
Oh, wow.
Got some got introduced to someone in the BBC archives by Hugh Stevens. And then, yeah, a couple years later, BMG was going to put out a 20th anniversary uh, vinyl edition of Fuzzy Logic, and I asked Keon,
Yeah.
like, what are they using for their source? I don't know. I'll ask him. And they came back, oh, we'll just master it off the CD. And I'm like, no, 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 they can't do that. And Keon said, save it. I'll introduce you to them at BMG. You can go on your rant, and so I did, and I said, I have a list of the tape library that Sony is
Yeah.
currently housing, and all of the it's like you should go back to the mixdown tapes and master this fresh for vinyl. And luckily, John at BMG said, yeah, you're right. And do you think there's do you think there's other stuff from that time period that we could expand it and do, like,
Yeah,
a,
yeah,
a deluxe CD, like even maybe a 2 CD set? And I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. There's stuff. There's this. There's this. And then he said, cool. Like, he's like, I love the Furries, but I don't know the intricacies of their discography like it seems like you do. Do you want to be in charge of this? And I said, if they're cool with it, sure. And Griff and Keon were both like, yeah, we can't think of anybody else.
yeah, yeah, we do.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
just because, I do understand, the process of making records, and know how uh, this building block turns into this, into this, into this, and then suddenly you've got this song. And but also being on that side of it, that I'm not going to get a bunch of stuff and then just upload it all to YouTube or something. If there's something that they're like, oh yeah, that was something we were just kind of messing around with, and that we don't want anybody to hear that stays in the vault. So yeah, it's great. I mean, it's challenging at times, because those guys, 99% of bands will record and mix, and then when they master, the record, they just take the mixes, put them in an order, do whatever to make them all sit together as an album. But for those guys, the mastering was another step in the creative development of the record, where they sometimes mix a song 3 different times and decide to
Yeah,
use bits from each of the mixes. And they did, just all kinds of crazy stuff in mastering. So I have to get all the original tapes and everything and listen, and then figure out what they had done and kind of reassemble it chunk by chunk. And it's
and did they just let you do that? Did they? So the
well, I
band
mean, they're
actually said, yeah, you can do that because you've got the files anyway, or you've got whatever. I don't know what you
well
call them.
I mean, they're involved in, as far as, when it comes to it's always pretty much known, like, okay, it's time to remaster and deluxify this record. So obviously,
Yeah,
the album itself, any B-sides or compilation
yeah,
tracks
yeah,
that had been released, those are going to go on it. But then, as far as unreleased stuff, I'll go through everything and pick out what I think is the most interesting, what, as a fan, I want to
you
listen
want to?
to,
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah,
multiple times. And then I send it on to them, and then they'll say, actually, my voice cracked on this, I don't want that being released. Or, yeah, I don't like, I didn't have the lyrics finished yet, I don't. And so, I mean, they're involved, because it's their music and their legacy, and they want quality stuff. But as far as they trust that I'll be able to reassemble the record as
yeah,
it was.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's a lot of the grunt work that, like, they already did 20 years ago or whatever, that they don't want to do again and try and remember, like, so do you remember which chunks of which mix you used on that? Like, nope. So, yeah.
But not as a musician, but as a fan of super furry animals, you must be in a really amazing position to listen to actually have copies or keep them,
Yeah,
yourself.
no, I mean, it's amazing, because I mean, they're just I mean, they're one of the all-time great bands in my book, up there with the Beatles, Led Zeppelin. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
they're one of the true greats. And the albums they made are just yeah, just really amazing records, and to to be able to hear how these things were
Yeah,
created, to hear from the
insight, so the
yeah
inside
from
knowledge of it.
just a like hit record on the cassette player and strumming some chords and singing a vocal melody until and then da 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 6 months later that song is receptacle for the respectable or whatever. It's amazing to as a nerd to hear that
Yeah,
that
yeah,
process of how some of my all-time favorite music was created. And it's also just invaluable from a learning experience as well, like just learning different ways of how you can put songs together and grab this from this place and this from this place. And it seems like it was always meant to be like that, but no, they're
yeah,
actually like two different things from 5 years apart.
yeah. And they
Yeah,
trust you with it as well. They so like they trust you with their material, with their
yeah, they trust me to
everything.
with the
It's like
potentially embarrassing stuff, because there's stuff in my past that I wouldn't trust. I wouldn't want anybody listening to it. You mentioned Air Station, and wow, that was a lot of fun to make.
yeah.
It's that was the whole point, was to just have fun and do it. And I don't think it's very much of it is that good. And
Not for public, so like consumption.
not if it was completely up to me, no, it would not be made available publicly. But you know um but the other guy decided to make it available publicly, so there you go.
Oh, okay.
um and that's fine. I'm not
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
I'm not upset about it or gonna fight him over it. But it's yeah, it's pretty silly.
yeah. Well, hopefully there will be more Gruff Rhys, tour or gigs, and including
I
you
I
as
hope
well.
so. It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's what I love doing more than anything in this world. And also happens to be like the one thing that I'm good at. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
gonna go get a job anywhere,
Well,
because
you're
no
very
matter
much.
what.
Well, another thing that I found out, you're very much into the Welsh. Your involvement with this whole like Welsh community. I found out that you're in a TV drama, a Welsh TV drama called. I hope I pronounced this correctly. Is it Merched Parchus?
Oh,
Merched Parchus?
Meched Parchus.
Merched, yeah, Merched
It's that
Parchus.
it's that ch character in the Welsh
Oh,
alphabet.
right, okay.
That's
So
like
it's
the
like a
kind of the
guttural,
throat sound, like the
so like
yeah, meched part, which I'm not great at saying.
yeah,
No, that was Griff's partner, up until very recently, when she took a new job. Ran a TV, uh, like movie and
yeah,
documentary, like whatever production company. Like her company produced like both of Griff's movies, amongst like a thousand other great things. But yeah, one of them they were doing was a show, Meched Parchas.
yeah.
Sorry to anybody else that hears this, my mangling of your language. But there just happened to be a thing in it where the main character spends a lot of time listening to this true crime podcast
Podcast,
hosted
yeah,
by
yeah,
an American. And Kat. And so Kat, Griff's partner, like, hey, I know an American. And so she called and said, do you want to do this, provide a voiceover for this thing? And it's like, yeah, of course. Like, are you going to be there? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, even better. Yeah. Any excuse to get to hang out with you. Yeah, I'd love to. So, yeah, it was just a weird a weird thing I got asked to do, and it was a lot of fun. And uh, yeah, I made a couple of friends that day because
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't know any of them except Kat before then, and they were all really super nice. And
Yeah. Is it still
yeah,
on? Is it still going? Because it says it's got seven. Is it 7 seasons? No, 7 episodes or something.
I
Is it
think
still
it just
going?
I think it was just the one series. I don't
That's
know
all.
if there was a ever a second series written, and S4C
Okay.
just opted not to pick it up. Like I'm not really sure why there weren't more, but yeah, as far as I'm aware, it was just yeah the seven
Yeah,
episodes.
yeah. So your character is actually one of the main ones because apparently when I looked it up, it's the female character or the main character. She's really into this crime thing. So
Yeah,
your character as the podcast narrator is always, it's a main one because that's what the story is all about.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I never I ended up watching it with my finger on the mute button because I can't stand hearing the sound of my own voice.
Oh no.
So I watched the program because I wanted to see it, and then yeah, very quickly it was like, wow, this is a great show. But every time I would see her put the headphones on, it's like, shit, that's going to be me, and I would hit mute.
Oh, so you're not doing anymore. So it's 7 episodes and then that's it. So
Well, I mean, I haven't. I wouldn't say that I'm not doing. I would gladly do. I
do it
mean,
again and again.
especially to yeah to work with like Hannah, Kat, or any of them would jump at the chance to do anything with them. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to do more stuff like that. Just yeah, it yeah, it just hasn't it's thus far just been a one off.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's brilliant. Again, you're in the right place at the right time. They need an American narrator. So there you go. You're an American. You can narrate.
Yeah, I didn't have to fake the accent or anything.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I know it's already like an hour and a half, but I've just got four more questions, the regular questions I ask our guests.
Yeah, of
First one
course.
is, when you play the drums, do you twirl? Do you do the twirling sticks and
Um,
any tricks that you do when you play it?
no, I have kind of butterfingers, and if I, it's yeah, I need all of my concentration to just not drop the sticks. If I started trying to get fancy, things would probably go off the rails pretty quickly.
Even when you were in the Flaming Lips, because the drummers in the Flaming Lips, they were quite entertaining, and when I saw
Um,
them, anyways, I was like,
yeah, no, I not no, not that I can recall. I mean,
no.
I'll sometimes if I'm sitting there at practice, or in the studio in between takes and nothing's going on, I'll get fidgety and like twirl my sticks. But well, and so that being said, being that Wayne tends to talk a lot on stage, it's quite probable that there were times that I was sitting there twirling
Just
my sticks. But but yeah, while a song's actually going, I'm just I'm really focused on I just trying to play the song.
Yeah, yeah. Second question is drumming heroes. Do you have any drumming heroes?
Oh man, I have a ton.
Stuart Kid?
Yeah, definitely. Just yeah, I mean I don't need to tell you because you already know, but yeah, just everything he does is just so musical, and it's
Yeah, yeah,
and just deceptively simple. Like everything he's playing, you, if you don't think about it, it just glides through because everything he plays is just so perfect. But if you actually sit and analyze what he's doing, there's a lot of it that's like, wow, that's not easy. But on top of it, to make to make it sound so easy is just, a great skill in itself. Other current, I mean, Greg Saunier from Deerhoof is, a huge one. That guy just operates on, he's sort of like a Keith Moon type in that he is just speaking a language completely unto himself that, I can listen to and watch and just be in great admiration of it, but never once think, oh, I'm gonna see if I can cop
Do it.
that lick, because he's
Yeah.
just, oh man, he's just it's a freak. Actually, Deerhoof's playing in Manchester in July, I think, and
Oh, really?
you have to go see them. That, I mean, they are just,
Okay.
just all four of them, like individually, are just absolute freak musicians, but together, the sound they make together is just, I yeah, I mean, it's just the most powerful. I don't
Yeah.
know. I could go on for hours about the greatness of Deerhoof,
Well,
because
I'll
they
look it
have
up. Yeah.
great songs, but live they're so powerful and energetic, and just. But then, having been friends with them for 20 years, they're also just the sweetest people, which makes you want to like support them even more. Blah blah blah. Anyway, yeah. So Greg Saunier is a big one. Um, I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name, but Stella Mozgawa. Um, that's like in Warpaint, played with Kate LeBon a lot, played with Kurt Vile a lot. She's another one that just has just a language completely of her own that just, you listen to her and you can't even imagine like what her influences would have been, because it's just so, it's just
Unique.
stellar.
Yeah. Yeah.
um uh God,
Well, I'm
I'm
definitely gonna look up Deerhoof. So it's like, if they're
yeah, I mean,
playing, I'll
they're
look them. I'll look them up. So
yeah, so like the Flaming Lips were my favorite band in the whole world for a long time, and then Super Furry Animals became my favorite band, which
yeah,
was a good time because that was right about the point that I joined the Lips, and so it wouldn't
yeah.
have been really cool to be like, yeah, I'm in my favorite band. I could say, oh, I'm in my second favorite band. But then, yeah, it was around 2006, like Deerhoof took over as my favorite band, and they've been my favorite band since. Like nobody's been able to knock them off
No,
their
yeah, yeah.
and yeah, I don't
Would
know
it
if
be
I should.
nice if you could play in Deerhoof as well? So that would be like all the favorite bands that you've had. You're
Well, I've played like a song or two with them here and there
all
at
right.
shows.
Yeah, yeah.
But the thing is, most of their songs I can't actually play because their songs are so intrinsic to like it being the four of them together, what they've done, that it's not like say with with like Eros, like could,
Yeah.
even though what Stu does is so great and has his heartbeat all over it, I could sit and listen to the song and figure it out and probably go up and play it because it's within the same realm of what I do. But what Greg does is just, it's something else entirely. It's well, it's like saying, like English to Welsh. It's like you use the same characters, but what you do with those characters becomes a whole different language.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Have you actually played with Stuart Kidd?
I'm
Have you
sorry,
have you played with Stuart Kidd in
I,
Eros?
I I haven't had a not yet. Hopefully someday I'll be able to.
Oh, okay.
but no, that hasn't happened yet, at least.
Yeah.
Uh, but I did play Gitto from the Furries has a band with his wife Lindsay called Gulp that
Go. Yeah.
that Stuart plays with a lot, and there was yeah, there were a handful of shows that they couldn't bring Stuart down from Scotland for, and I was here, and so they asked if I would do them. So I did have to learn a bunch of Stuart's parts. So I've kind of
Yeah.
played with Stuart in that way, but
Yeah.
uh, but now they're up in Gitto and Lindsay moved up to Scotland. So now
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
now they've got easy access to the good
It's
one.
good. Yeah. But how about of all the years you've been playing drums, have you ever had any accidents or disasters? As I call it, like drumming disasters.
Plenty of disasters
Plenty.
where yeah, the brain just shuts off for the second in the middle of a song and it just kind of goes haywire.
Oh my gosh.
And when I was younger, um, I would drink before playing sometimes, and that never goes well.
No.
So um, I mean there was I played in a band called I have to say ahead of time that the name of the band was a joke. It was meant to be uh, yeah, it was meant to be a wait what, but it was a band called Cocknoose,
Oh my.
and and it was a band, and the guys in the band I love very much, and I loved the music a lot, but it wasn't just a band of like, oh, we're going to get together and just play some songs. It was they had I wouldn't call it an art project because but it was, they were very influenced by like 70s wrestling, specifically like the bad guys. So they would come out on stage, and there was this air of like dramatized like
Yeah.
violence and a lot of like shit talking,
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
sometimes the audience would never sometimes members of the audience wouldn't understand this is a show in the same way that like wrestling is a show. And yeah, there are a couple times that people took great offense to what that band was doing, and I had been punched more than once,
By
but
by the member of the audience or
yeah, just getting offended by something, like, yeah, just not understanding, this is all tongue in cheek, this is all
oh gosh.
humorous, this is coming from this thing that they would go see, whatever four bands were on the bill that night, and Cocknoose is one of them, and not understand that when up there playing songs like fuck you die and stuff like that, that it's that these are characters that everybody in the band is playing, and that it's meant to be humorous, and it's just it's comical, like wrestling. And so yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes they would get really fired up and would get like
Oh
actual
god.
violent.
Oh dear. I actually saw that in your Discogs entry, but I thought no, I won't ask that.
No,
Anyways,
no, that band was great fun, and I actually still love a lot of those songs a lot. Bring back like great memories of it was Devin and Justin that started the band and came up with the whole concept, and that wrote like 95% of the songs, and but I'd be there while they're writing, and the way they wrote songs was they'd be tossing out lyrics, and whichever ones made the other one laugh the most, that's what went in the song.
Oh God.
And so yeah, I can be. And so yeah, so I have great memories of sitting there, watching them writing like, "Listen, little man, what you want I've already had," or whatever.
It's an unusual writing process as well.
Yeah, um, yeah.
Right. Well, last question that I've got for you is, what would be your advice for aspiring drummers or musicians in general? Because I know it's hard now. You were saying that it's hard now for musicians to make it to
It, it,
the
it
industry,
I
music
mean,
industry.
it is. I mean, so much. I mean, just the whole environment has changed a lot. The expense going into doing it has just risen so much. But then, yeah, also the fact that um, you've got a generation of people that are used to just getting everything for free, and don't
Yeah, yeah,
don't
yeah.
the concept of paying for music seems weird. Where, yeah, not to, sorry to go off on another tangent, but in the 90s, the early, mid, even late 90s, when I was coming up, um it's none of the bands I was in before the Lips ever made like really made money. But
Mm.
there were all these clubs everywhere across the US that needed live entertainment every night, and you could even if you weren't well known, you could generally get paid, say $100 to
Mm.
play, and then if you could sell 5 or 6 copies of your record on the merch table, uh, that actually worked at that point, because petrol was under $1 a gallon most places in
Oh,
the US.
yeah.
You could, for like under $10, you could get just a mound of food at Taco Bell. um, and and again, you might not have that many people coming to your shows, but you didn't need to make that much to keep it going
Keep
to
it
get to
going.
the
Yeah.
next town. And if you were smart about how you did things and didn't take days off and slept on people's floors and stuff like that, you could actually, you know, take
Earn a
three
bit. Yeah, yeah,
take like
yeah.
3 weeks off your job to go on tour and come back and have that money that you would have made at your job, so that rent gets paid and bills get paid and all that.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, it's just especially like over here right now, where like grassroots venues are closing every
Yeah.
day, and there are
Yeah.
fewer places to play. One thing that I think is great in general, that the technology is so much cheaper and more easily accessible, and so um, more people are making music and can just download some software and do it in their bedroom.
Yeah.
um, and that's amazing. Like,
Yeah.
not they're not being like that gate to creativity that there once was.
Yeah. And they can just release it online.
Yeah, but then that just means there's more of it out there, and
Yeah, those,
more
yeah.
people fighting for what's becoming a smaller and smaller pie. So I don't
Yeah.
know. My advice, I guess, would just be, um, make if you're if you know all the obstacles that stand in front of you and you don't care, you're still compelled that you have to do this, then you should do it.
You should,
Because
yeah,
that
yeah,
the because those are the kind of people that we need making music, the ones that
yeah,
just like have to, or they're going to go crazy, the I don't want to talk bad about anyone, but you see a lot of people that, especially like, like actors that like, oh, I also made a record. It's like, we don't need you to do that. That's something that you just did because you could, and because,
you're
you know,
famous,
yeah,
you're,
it's,
so, yeah,
we don't need those people. We need the ones that's like, I don't care if I have to like move all my stuff in my parents' basement. I have to go on tour. I have to do this every day, all the time. Like those are the ones that, yeah,
yeah,
that's who we need making.
yeah. Well, I found out from a friend, the one that I was talking to you about before we went on live. He's an American. He's a big fan of Eros as well, Eros Child. And I found out from him that he actually produces or releases albums, but you can just get it for free or pay however, whatever, how much you want to pay him.
Right,
So go to his, like, I think it's at Bandcamp, or he's got his own website, and then you can get his. And it's not just I think it's physical as well as I think CDs that you can get from
uh,
him.
oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. So I was all like, because I went to
Well,
the
what's his name? I want to
no,
check him.
oh, my friend.
Yeah,
Uh, my friend's name is Nick Cullen. He's also a musician. He
Cullen,
does
is it
music.
Cullen?
Cullen, yeah, and
Okay,
he's,
cool. I'm gonna look him up when
yeah,
we're done chatting.
because he's not on Facebook, but he's active on Instagram, and he's
Ah,
the one who's told me about all these Welsh, like Gruff Rhys, and he's actually surprised that I'm not a big fan of Super Furry Animals, because we both love Mick Head, and every time he comes here, we go and see Mick Head, but he gave me a Gorky's badge
oh,
that
nice.
that he had it made himself. So and then he came here to see Eros as well, and of course Stuart Kidd played with Eros, and yeah. So I also want to say thank you so much to Stuart Kidd that I saw Eros Child play live for the first time as him, because I have seen him as Teenage Fan Club Teenage Fan Club member, and I
Right.
thought I thought it was amazing. But the first time I saw him last year, and I was so impressed because he had this 20-minute song.
Oh, right. Which that's only like that's that's only the first half of the song. Like the whole song's actually like 40 minutes.
That's what my friend said. So that was just the first one. You have to wait to go to another gig, and then maybe you'll hear the second part of it, which is another 20 minutes.
No, I actually, yeah, asked Aros like, oh, I wish he would have played the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's
No, he was. Yeah, he's so brilliant. And you haven't? Have you played with Eros as well, or not?
no, I never have. I've worked with him just in because he does he releases a lot of records just online, and
Yeah,
I, I'll usually end up mastering a lot of those for him. Um, so yeah, work together in that aspect, but never actually like played music with him. But
yeah.
hopefully someday.
Someday.
But it's one of those weird things of, if he's playing music and needs a drummer, like I would very much love to do it, but then but I get so much enjoyment out of watching and listening to Stu play that I'm in a weird like, uh but so if I get to do it, then I don't get to enjoy Stu doing it. uh Shit. So yeah, so I don't think about it much. But if Eros ever did call me. I would be there like that.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I really enjoy talking to you because you're not just a musician, you're a fan. You're a fan as well. So
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I mean, you have to be if yeah, if you're not already, yeah, if you're not independently wealthy or Red Hot Chili Peppers or something like it's tough out there, and you have to like think you have to like really love it and really be devoted to it and really ready to like take a lot of punches and still get back up because you're just so like but that's me. I mean, I wake up in the morning and my first thought is you know it's yeah usually my first thought is I have a song in my head and it's like
yeah,
cool, I need to get out of bed because I need to listen to that record right now. um and then it just goes on from there. If I'm not
yeah,
playing music, I'm listening to it, or I'm reading about it, or watching a documentary about it. And
yeah,
yeah, I'm very one dimensional. But I love this one dimension that I've found. So
yeah. Well, I've still got one more question. Do you go to a lot of gigs?
I'm sorry.
Do you go to a lot of gigs, or do you?
It
Like,
depends. I haven't been to any. It's been probably about a month. I mean, I think it'll pick up probably more during this, the summertime when there are
summertime? Yeah,
more
yeah,
bands on tour. But
yeah.
yeah, no, I love going to shows, and I love checking out new
The
bands,
drummers.
and and there are ton of bands here in Cardiff, and yeah, I'm always love hearing new music, and
Yeah, the same with me. So it's like, yeah.
yeah, I mean it's just
So, do you check out the drummers when you go to a gig, and do you
I mean
see?
if the drummer's particularly great, yeah, I'll usually end up kind of focused on the drummer, but I I love I love all of it.
The
I
whole,
just
yeah, the whole set.
and I do love drums, and I don't want to take away from um, don't want to diminish the importance of drums or any of that, but it really just I needed to play music, and drums were the first instrument that was able to play. Like, had I been able to play guitar, I might have just stayed playing guitar. I had to play music, and I was the whatever coordination I have worked with
Yeah,
drums, and so that's where I went, and I love it. I wouldn't want it to be any different.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
it is it is one it is one component of a a greater thing, and it's the greater thing that I'm the most drawn to. I don't sit and practice rudiments and stuff like that, because most of that it's not going to matter in the you're not going to use it in the context of most songs without getting in the way of the song. So I
Yeah,
had a
yeah.
point but I lost it. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's like all these paradiddles, because sometimes it works if you're maybe in, a kind of band where all these rudiments or whatever are needed. But if they're not needed, then the way you play is probably just enough and things like that. So I don't know, but
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not technically. I don't know anything technical about drums. I just love drummers and I love watching them.
Well, there you,
Anything
I
they
mean,
can
that's
do.
but that's the important thing, and that's, and for me, that, yeah, I do know some technical things about it, but at the end of the day, it's, well, I can either, you know amuse myself and, yeah, play paradiddles and
Yeah, yeah,
whatever, or, or I can try and communicate with the song, and then communicate with other people, like, not to be cosmic hippie or whatever, but, it's um yeah, it becomes like a community thing, that
yeah,
you're part of something
yeah.
greater than
Because
you know
you just feel it, don't you? You just feel that music and you feel that vibe. But for me personally, I just love watching them. Whatever it is they do, it could be just a simple, with the brush. What do you call it? The one with the brush or something, not the
right,
regular stick. It could be that, just so like really soft and doing it. I love watching that. Or it could be like some major, so like
right.
complicated drumming thing, and I'd be like, oh my god, that is so good.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah,
it's different situations, require different things, and I you know
yeah.
I love all of it, but yeah, it's I think to have the I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but yeah, to know when I
That's
need
the
to,
right. Yeah,
yeah, I
that's
need to,
the
this
right
this
one.
this is what this song needs right here.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
I'd
yeah,
I'd love
yeah.
I'd love to go over here, but it's gonna detract
It,
from the song. Um,
yeah, 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 yeah. Well, thank you so much, Cliff.
well,
I really
thanks for having
enjoyed
me.
it. No,
And
it's oh, I gotta say Diolch. Is that how do you say it? Yeah. Thanks is Diolch.
Diolch.
Diolch, yeah, yeah,
Again,
Diolch.
the ch.
The
Oh,
CH,
and
okay.
yeah, sorry, and the RH is actually a character. So, like, Gruff Rhys,
Yeah.
RH, that's one character
All right.
in the
Well, I
Welsh
wasn't
alphabet.
at first. Is it? I have to check that it's Griff because I didn't want to say like Gruff or something because I always is it Gruff? No, Gruff. No, Griff Reese. Yeah,
Yeah,
Griff Reese.
Gruff
How
Rhys.
you say
Yeah,
it? Yeah,
it's
Reese. Yeah,
yeah, with the RH being like
with
the
the
one
RH.
character, you kind of put some air behind the R. So, yeah, it's
Right.
Gruff Rhys.
Reese.
Um,
Okay.
it's
Well,
a it's a no it's a I was about to say crazy language, but it's not crazy. It's no, it's a cool language, but yeah, it's
yeah. Well, Aidan said before that it's Welsh is great, and we see and hear it in Manchester on the Transport for Wales trains. Because every time you
nice.
go on Transport for Wales, you can hear this like Welsh speaking. So, like, right. Well, thank you so much, and I really hope I
Thanks
get
for
to meet
having me.
you in the real world someday when you're
Yeah.
playing or when you're down in Manchester. Yeah. So,
Yeah, well,
well,
if I can, I plan on being there to see Deerhoof in July. So, um,
oh, I'll try to be there as well. So at least I'll look out for you. At least I'll know some, and I'm gonna try and listen to their songs, the music as well.
yeah,
I
go
learned
to
the
their.
band, but not really
Um,
the
I mean,
music.
I think all of their records are great, but go to their Bandcamp, because they just released two songs off of their upcoming
Oh,
record,
wait.
and
I wonder if
it's
they're gonna be touring.
yeah, I'm not sure when
Yeah.
the record's out, but it's um it is a mind-blowing record, even by their standards, who, like, have never made a record that's less than great. And the
Oh,
fact that
okay.
they've been a band for 30 years at this point, and that they've just
Wow.
kind of reinvented themselves
Yeah.
again with this new album, it's just uh yeah, sorry. I
Well,
could talk for hours about Deerhoof.
well, hopefully I'll get to see you there, and I'll
Hope
find out
so.
where they're playing as well. So
Awesome.
yeah, and hopefully I'll get to see you play drums live and look after your frozen shoulder.
We'll
Hope-
do. I'm actually
Okay.
going to do my. It's time to do my daily exercises. So I'm going to do that when we.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much,
Thanks
and
for having me, and thanks for putting up with my long, inane
thank
ramblings.
you, Stuart Kid. Thanks. Yeah. All right. Well, take care. See you.
Thanks. Have a
Cliff.
good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us live. That was amazing. I really enjoyed every single minute of that. I was just looking at the time. It's nearly actually 2 hours of chatting to Cliff about, it's amazing. Because that's one thing that I really love about, I love talking music to everyone, but talking to drummers about their experiences in their lives, it's just, for me, it's fascinating stuff. So once again, thank you so much to it, Kid. Hopefully you'll get to see this because I'm going to be uploading it on YouTube, maybe sometime this evening or tomorrow morning. But yeah, it will be on the Acid Drummer YouTube channel for those who missed this live broadcast. So you can catch up later. Um, Thank you so much, Kliph Scurlock. That's wonderful. It's just really, I really enjoyed that chat with you and conversation with you. Hopefully, you'll be back next week. We're going to have another awesome drummer next week. Do keep an eye out for the guest announcement post on the Ask Drummer Facebook page. I'll post it sometime tomorrow or Tuesday. But yeah, it will be early this week. And once again, as always, love music, love life, love drummers. They're just absolutely amazing and so cool. It's like their stories, their stories are just incredible. And thank you so much once again to Kliph Scurlock. And I'll see you all again next week. Bye for now. Bye.